All right. This is Brian, MurderBryan. I'm Brian Quinby from Street Fight. This is probably going to go on a Street Fight feed, so we'll call this Street Fight Radio. It's where I usually host a show with Brett Payne. He's busy right now, and I have nothing to do because listeners will know that I'm unemployed right now. So I was like, I'm going to get two great dudes together and just hang out with them. And they're going to co-host the show. They're going to co-host the podcast with me. So tonight, I have the one and only swarthy villain, Felix from Twitter. I'm not going to give your Facebook this time. That was uncomfortable. But sometimes you gotta push them both,
I know, yeah. I mean, like, I finally pushed past 500 friends on Facebook.
That's
for a while.
That's so crazy to me because, like, I think I'm even only... Like, one day I checked and I said, I remember when I was on MySpace, I had like 500 or whatever things. I don't remember what they were. That you had friends on MySpace, and then I went and looked one day to see how many friends I had. It was like 125, and I'm like, that's all the people looking for me from my real life in the whole world. As that number dwindles, you have to be like, oh man. That's all the people. That's every single person's who you made an impact on their life should find you there.
Yeah, but like at the same time, like it's not as fun. Like you can't have a ratio. You can't have a ratio on Facebook. What's the point?
But sometimes don't you? I guess you guys don't do this. We also have Dank Metal, Dan K Montreal.
Hey, what's up?
And he's the same way on Facebook. He's very nice. Felix and Dan are two of they're despised by some on Twitter. And that's no lie. People just get mad at these guys. They're problematic as hell.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as good as making people angry as Brooklyn Juggler or something like that, who was engaged in a long feud with Talib Kweli like the last day. But I don't know. I can do all right on there.
You fucking destroyed somebody the other day about Hillary Clinton. I saw. That's a weird thing. That's a weird thing that's going on because it's like I don't want to fight against Hillary Clinton. You know what I mean? Because it seems like it's really loaded with getting treated like trash. It's almost like they've treated people. This is how they've treated people that support Bernie Sanders. They treat them like anarchists. Like you guys get looked at the same way people like Brett and I get looked at.
Yeah, when it's basically the people that support Bernie Sanders are either like whatever college students or they're like middle-aged, people who have like tote bags and shop at like organic co-ops and shit.
Bernie babies is what you guys are getting called now. If you're into Bernie Sanders, I don't know if you know this, Felix. I mean, in our world, you get called a Bernie bro.
Yeah, I mean, well, like, bro just sort of became shorthand with like online writers, like people who. Like, their entire being is just, like, writing, like, fucking 3 articles a month for The Atlantic. And so, like, bro is, like, the scariest thing to these people. It's not a word that means anything anymore. It's just, like, shorthand for whatever, like, scary young men live outside their block. Yeah. Like, they may run into it sometime and may say some, like, unkind words to. They don't know. It's never happened. But just, like, theoretically. So that's, like, that's the libel they attach to anybody.
Yeah, to me, like a bro...
Like, they're literally writing articles about, like, I've gotten in 5 arguments on Twitter this month. This is a national phenomenon.
The bro thing is weird, because to me, a bro... I went to, I went to Penn State University, which is, like, a very, stereotypical, like college, To me, a bro is, like, a very specific thing in my mind.
Yeah, didn't we all go to very bro-y colleges? Because I went to Ohio State University, so of course we have quite a reputation.
Yeah, Ohio State's like similar.
I mean, I went to a smaller place. I went to the University of St. Thomas, but it was like a very bro play. It was all hockey player guys and wrestlers.
Yeah, and you didn't see a whole lot of like, I don't know, like it's just a small class of people, and none of them are political. Like those bro dudes,
Yeah,
none of them are political.
they don't care about that shit at all.
Right, it's like you do. I never saw anybody like with like cauliflower ears from wrestling their entire life. Like just like put some guy in a headlock and be like, "Yeah, I'm not into feminism. I'm an egalitarian. Let's have universal health care."
Yeah, it's really weird, and it's just like a way they like shut stuff down, or it's like oh yeah, the dude bros are criticizing like whatever like Doug Henwood had a cover of his book with Hillary like brandishing a gun, and then people are like complaining, and it's just like Bernie dude bros are like attacking Hillary or whatever.
Yeah,
I
I like that. I like Bernie Dude Bros is absolutely my favorite thing because I want a picture of one. I want a picture of a like, dude, if you don't get with the burn, I'm gonna give you a fucking wedgie.
Well, you
Like
know what it is? It's fucking so contradictory. Like I mean, like we all know who we're talking about when we talk about the guy who goes like, "You're homophobic, you're gay, you're poor, you have a trust fund, you're depressed, you're mentally ill, you're on antidepressants," like that guy. It's the same, just like you throw everything. Well, so like when you read the articles about Bernie Bros, they're losers who spend their entire day online. They also bully people, bully weaker people. They're bros. They lift weights. They're also virgins.
What? How do Bernie Bros? Bernie? I mean, people that I'll say this, man. People that are into Bernie Sanders, they're getting people's attention. It's just the other side is so effective at making it seem like they're aggressing them. They're being okay. These Bernie Bros are going just a little bit too far, and he doesn't. I want to say this right now. Bernie Sanders doesn't inspire me at all. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I just have this image in my head. We mentioned Bernie Bros of like this guy wearing like a pink popped collar like polo shirt with like a Bernie Sanders logo, and he's just like he drives like a Jeep or something like that. He's just really aggressive about Bernie Sanders to people.
That's true. You want to meet some like the guys that were at that summit that I went to with Cushbomb. Those guys were some bros. Like that's what I consider a bro. Like they actually look tough.
They make it sound like the Cobra Kai gym from Karate Kid. Like they disbanded after the one guy got his ass kicked, and they've just been wandering the desert for like 20 years, and they were waiting for like a slightly annoyed Jewish man to start yelling.
About
and they're
socialism.
like, "Oh, okay, this is perfect. We love this." And the 40-year-old Jewish guy is like complaining about the Fed. This is our thing.
I always want to look like I don't want to get too involved in a lot of those arguments, but I always want to look at the amount of comments that happen when somebody like writes a new article about like everybody on the internet who has said they might vote for Bernie Sanders is also a terrible misogynist. Campaign has been going on.
But it's weird because it's like an orchestra. I mean, like you see like in 2008, like Hillary was like just her campaign was spreading these like whisper rumors that Obama was like a secret Muslim and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
It's all like I don't know. It's all politics, and then people just like buy like they're just like like they're kind of just helping the Hillary campaign along by buying into that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll vote for whichever one they actually end up putting out. That's the thing about these Democrats and Republicans. It doesn't seem like we have a ton of control over who they put. I mean, the Republicans, I don't know anything. I love that. I love that I have Felix on the show who actually has to follow every single person running for president now.
I've had people from Ohio like. The joke that we were doing with Kasich on Cafe the running joke is that we think Kasich is like a resentful drifter. Like he's like a guy who rides the rails. Cause like we noticed that like I'd never really seen Kasich. I heard you guys talk about him. I saw him at the debates. He looked like he woke up in his car like 10 minutes before the debate, and he was like, "Oh God, no! I knew I had that thing."
Yeah,
but they're like everyone in Ohio that I know, or everyone from Ohio out here, I should say, is like, I cannot look at Kasich that way. Like I look at him as like a specter of terror.
Yeah,
just from like living in that state.
Yeah, he fucking. I mean, like he looks like he drinks, but he doesn't drink. He fucking hates alcohol. He tried to get Fargo banned. Like he's perfect actually for the Republicans, I think. Like just in the fact that like a lot of what Republican ideology is like there's a bunch of stuff happening that I don't like. Go get rid of all of it.
I don't respect Kasich because when I was sending the presidential candidates the goat C picture to try to get blocked by them, he blocked me, which was fine. But then they reported me, and my Twitter account was locked until I deleted all the goat C tweets at his account.
You had to know that was coming with Kasich though. Like Kasich lost his mind at Fargo, which at its heart is a sweet movie. Like, how is he going to respond to Goatsy? He doesn't care that the Goatsy guy has a ring on his finger.
He got on the fucking phone back when the phone was on the wall. He didn't just pull the phone out of his pocket. He stood up and went to the wall phone and took it off the hook and fucking started yelling at Blockbuster on the phone to take them all off the shelves. This is crazy. I'll come in tomorrow and we'll discuss it. And he doesn't even work for Blockbuster.
It was what was it? It was the wood chipper scene that did it.
Yeah, I think it was the general murders in it. Like all the violence in it bothered him a lot. And that guy did sell it as a comedy, which is like my wife doesn't see Fargo as a comedy either. I do, but
yeah, I see it as a comedy definitely.
I mean, I feel bad for Kasich because Kasich would have been like the perfect candidate in like 1983. Like he would have just like killed it at a senatorial campaign or whatever. But even when it was a different era, like they were like leaving the Bircher thing and it was just back to like the exact platform was like, I know exactly what's best for you in your personal life. But now it's just like gone in this whole different direction. He doesn't really have the heart for like ethnic cleansing.
Yeah, well, that's the damn problem. I think Ohio started to hate his guts because they went and put together one of those bills where it was like they went and put together one of those drug test people on welfare bills. And he was like, I'm not going to sign that. So don't even make it. It's not going to get made. It's not going to get passed.
That's like one of those Facebook comment laws.
Yes,
like,
it really is.
People commenting on Facebook articles are like, our next bill is that we're going to put all the pedophiles on an island, we're going to throw napalm at them, kill them with swords.
Yeah, that's where most of the ones about leaving pets in hot cars come from too.
Kids, I saw a kid one today where like this is going to sound really hillbilly if you grew up in a city, okay? I get this. But like when I was a kid, your parents would go grocery shopping and they would just have you sit in the car. But it was like a big van. So I know what it's like to sit in a car for a long time. This woman got out of her car at a Lowe's in the story that I read. It's one of those fake anecdotes from Facebook. This woman got out of her car at a Lowe's. There was a van sitting next to him, and there were like 3 kids in the van, and they were just in there playing or whatever. The woman like started knocking on the windows and being like, "Are you guys safe? Is everything okay in there?" And like, putting up a TV so they could watch TV on her phone and shit like that. Well, she realized she had been out there for 57 minutes. So she goes back into the store, and they call the guy over the loudspeaker about an hour, 57 minutes after calling him. He finally shows up, and she's like, there's 3 kids out in that car. He's like, I know where my car is, and I know where the kids are. And keep your goddamn nose out of my business. And like people people were like, you should have called the police. Like, this was, I was reading the comments for what she should have done after it, and I just imagined, like, I don't know, man. I don't know how I would react if I saw 3 kids in the car. I'm probably not aware enough to see 3 kids in the car. But, like, that story was one of those, we should make a law about keeping kids in the car. From here on out, we're not going to do that anymore.
It sounds like a Sons of Anarchy plotline.
Yeah, that's true. That's what a lot of, like, if you follow... Like, most of the people I've hung out with in school were women. And so most of the people that were girls at the time, I would say they were girls because I was a boy. I wouldn't say I was a man at the time. So I see a lot of stories like that. It seems like that is the most terrifying thing that can possibly happen is like all your friends are like, your kids are going to get kidnapped all the time, and they're going to be trying to feed them drugs.
Yeah, I saw a couple of the around this Halloween season. I saw like a couple people share the drug, the people are giving out drugs, and I don't know how that's still fooling people. I remember because it was like, it stuck in my mind. I was in kindergarten, and I was in it was when I lived in Pennsylvania, and I remember they passed us out this thing, and it looked like it was something that was like mimeographed from like the '60s. Like it was like it was like printed out, but the type was like really like old typewriter font, and it was something about like drug dealers are giving LSD to kids this for Halloween, and it was like and it even listed types like, and it was stuff like, and I think it was it was like don't take. If they give you paper as candy with the words like yellow sunshine, it was something ridiculous like that. And it always stuck in my mind, even like, whatever, 27 years later or whatever it is, like how weird that was, like that they were passing out something that probably had been unchanged since like the 1960s.
Yes, absolutely. Oh yeah, the pills they show you in school never look like the real pills, ever. It's always capsules. Like, the weird thing is, man, they found razor blades in somebody's candy in Reynoldsburg, Ohio, home of Brett Payne. That is where Brett Payne comes from.
Did they confirm it, like that actually happened, or was it like just a hoax?
Well, now we're still going on the thing that somebody handed it out. I believe personally it's a hoax. It can't not be a hoax.
I mean, that's, like, if you were just that misanthropic, there are, like, different opportunities for you now. Like, if this was, like, 1890, like, someone is definitely putting razor blades in, like, the caramel apples or whatever they give out on Halloween. But, like, now, if you just want to hurt people, like, there's the whole internet out there. You can join ISIS. There's a lot of stuff you can do. You don't just have to, like, relegate it to, like, maybe, like, cutting a kid's mouth. I don't even know how you do it. It's just so much more effort than even joining ISIS. Like, you have to reseal it, you have to get a vacuum machine, you have to get God knows how many razor blades.
Yes. And the other weird one in Columbus, they said, or not in Columbus, this was in Marysville, which is far from, about a half hour from Columbus, so I'm going to say those are not my people. Somebody was handing out gummies that somebody thinks look like marijuana gummies, so they're having them tested.
Yeah, like those are expensive, aren't they?
They're expensive, number one, and number two, look, if you think those are a risk, just throw them in the trash. You don't have to test them. I mean, they're saying, like, they're reporting on the fact that, okay, these might be marijuana bunnies, so we're going to take them to or gummies, so we're going to take them to the lab and have them tested.
Like, yeah, and the other thing is when they're like, oh, they're giving out drugs to kids to get the kids hooked. Like, I remember when I was like 14 or 15, like me and like 6 of my friends had to pool together money to buy an eighth. Like we didn't have any money. Like
it's like very 80s movies where it's just like the bad kids, and they're all just like, let's get everybody high.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if there was ever. I've never had that never happened in my real life. Like there weren't. the bad kids were more like me. And like by me, I mean more self-interested. You know, I was just like, I don't want to get everybody high. I want to get high.
Right, it is like the bad kids are really more objectivist than people think. Like conservatives think that everyone is like that's why criminals are bad. It's not because they're like self-interested. It's just that they're like, I just want to go out and do bad.
Yes, yeah. I mean, yeah. For me, for me, a high school bad kid is just a kid that like is not doing high school. It's like you're gonna make me come here, still not gonna do it, and that's who I was. I was like, I'm not doing this. Sure, I'll come to the building every day, make it hard for everybody else to learn, and then I'll leave.
Yeah, like there was.
Right, it's not like someone was like, I'm gonna like get in the national merit contest and like ruin it somehow. I'm gonna get the guy. I'm gonna write my essay on LSD paper, and I'm gonna get the essay prompters high.
I did write at least 2 or 3 compositions in high school about getting marijuana legalized.
Oh yeah, I did that. I think yeah.
But see, I'm still very for it. I'm still very involved with marijuana. It's weird that I wrote them in like 8th, because the times I remember writing them were like 10th grade, so I was 16 years. I've been smoking weed for like 4 years by that time. I started when I was 12.
What's going on with this Responsible Ohio thing?
I don't know, man. I should know. It's probably, I can't tell if it's going to pass or not, but here's the deal. And Felix, you know about economics, so you know if this is good or not. And it sounds like a good deal. Marijuana will be legal in Ohio if this thing passes for recreational use and for medical use. There will be 10 places where marijuana is allowed to be grown, and those are not public lands. Those are lands owned by 10 investors in the bill for Responsible Ohio. So basically, Responsible Ohio would be a constitutional amendment that would legalize weed here. So you could come here and party and smoke weed, but all the weed that was smoked here would have to come from one of 10 different growers that are written into the Constitution. So people kind of are like, this isn't a good idea. You know, it's a monopoly. So a lot of people are saying to vote no on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, how do most of these state chartered monopolies, like how do they usually work out? It ends up with just like, you know, Mark Maron, period, adding Time Warner Cable on Twitter. Those of us with less resources complaining about it. Like, no, it sucks. It doesn't work. It's one of those things where I don't know how it got past this like state monopoly shit.
It's a bunch of money.
Who's clamoring for this?
It's just Nick Lachey is the big salesman for these guys. So like in Ohio, they run commercials with Nick Lachey being like, I love Ohio so much. He's standing in front of what I think is a green screen of Cincinnati, because he probably hasn't been to Ohio in 100 fucking years. He's like, I love Ohio so much. And like, I just want to see the right thing happen where, you know, marijuana's legalized and people can get, you know, patients can get the medicine that they deserve. This will be really great. But he's one of the fucking 10 investors that stand to have a monopoly on marijuana for the foreseeable forever in Ohio.
Will anybody be able to sell it pretty much, or will there have to be like
no? So there's only allowed to be 1,100 dispensaries throughout the whole state. So like, my assumption is a lot of those dispensaries, the license will be sent by a board, but the board will be made up of investors into this thing, so that like, I don't think there's going to be any fairness in how these dispensaries are handed out either. It's definitely, it's really bad. It really, like, I want to write, I don't see why you can't just write like legalize it on the fucking paper, and then just press, like, do you want to legalize it? Like, just all of it. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Anybody can grow it and sell it. That's the perfect bill. Let's fight until we can get that, I guess. But I see, I want to be honest, 100%. If they do start, if this thing fucking passes, guys, I'm gonna fucking have a lot. I'm buying a lot of that legal marijuana.
I mean, yeah, no, I don't blame you. Like, it sounds like great. Like, everyone always, they have their, like, people have their, like, weed, Red Bull, lollipops and stuff, and like it would be great. Like you get it like weighed out. You don't have to be friends with the guy that you're buying it with.
Yeah, the guy that I'm buying it from right now, guys, the last time I talked to him, he told me, first of all, last time I went and hooked up, he just talked on the phone the whole time, handed it to me, and I walked out the door, so we didn't talk that time. But the time before that, he was just like, let me tell you a story about when I shit on somebody's on my ex-girlfriend's sidewalk.
That's the personal touch you won't get anymore.
I know. And, like, I already have this weird fucking... I already find him to have a gross vibe with him because, like, he used to deliver, but every time he came to my house to deliver, he took a shit. And I was just like, I'm just going to go pick it up from you, man. And this is where Felix is exactly right. It'll be nice to have it professionalized a little bit. Now, like, I don't want it to be like when you go in a bong store and you can't say any words. So I'm hoping there's like when you go to a bong store in Ohio, you have to say pipe. And then I'll be like, so you load the organic substances into that pipe right there and you smoke it. Or you can say tobacco. And I find that so fucking weird, and I'll bet you there'll be laws like that even when weed's legal.
I bet you though there is like some weird guy. There's like a weird community on YouTube probably that like does smoke tobacco out of bongs.
Yeah, there has to be. I mean, there's those vape people that are doing clouds. I talked to a guy last week. I was having a conversation with a dude that at a job interview. And he was saying he asked me if I vaped, and I said no, and he said his friend vaped, and he's in contests. And stuff. Like the vape, he was like, it's stupid, man. There's a big round vape in front of his face.
There's a guy I went to high school with, like he's like into vaping, like he makes his own, like, you know, does his own, makes his own vapes and stuff like that. And like he invited me to a vape group he started, and I'm not into vaping. I smoke cigarettes, but I stayed in the group just because of how hilarious it is. Like it started off, and there's like drama in the group that I've been like following, like because they started off being able to like trade and sell vape equipment, and then he started building his own. So now he said like only he's allowed to sell his vape equipment on there, and then like some guy like wrote like a long post like this is against the spirit of the vaping community. It's a big long thing, and he posted videos of himself like blowing the huge clouds and things like that. It's fascinating.
You should get on the side of the guy that only sells his stuff. That guy's the guy that's gonna make money. He's the next like Enron or something like that. He's gonna make a bunch of money.
Yeah, all that like vaping stuff and like all the like smoking hobbyist shit, it all seems like something you get into after you're in a car accident.
Yeah.
And you can't move.
Or even just like you really want to quit smoking cigarettes. You're like, the cigarette, you know, my family sends me outside when I smoke cigarettes, and then I don't, because like say you're like a dad who smokes, you're the only person in the family that smokes, and your wife's like, I'm getting tired of this smoke, and you're like, all right, man, fine, I'll get the vape.
Yeah, like my uncle started vaping because he had like open heart surgery, you know.
Yeah, it's weird. There was a lot of big news a couple weeks ago that they said it's healthy, and I was like, no, it's not. Don't start saying vaping. That's the same thing they're doing with marijuana too. Like, look, I'm sorry, Stefan. Marijuana, if people say it's medicine, let them say it's medicine. It's not medicine for me. And I don't think it cures, like, I don't think it cures diseases. Like a lot of people are always like, it cures cancer. You know, we're pretty sure it cures bone cancer.
That takes it too far. It's like, all right, tone it down. I mean, I can see it's good for pain, appetite, like things like that, but tone it down a notch.
Yeah, it's like, why do you have to lie about it? Like, that's like accepting the conceit that like it's it's terrible. Well, oh yeah, if it's so if like you can't, if it's so bad, then how come Jesus Christ smoked it?
Yes, I hate that too. They never have to do that with alcohol. You know, you're like they never have to be like, look, I know it's fucking gonna ruin my liver and all my relationships, but I still like to do it. Okay.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to justify shit to anybody. It's like I like MMA, which people call like the stupidest sport. Where I don't care. I don't have to write some like fucking overwrought like 5,000 word essay that's like the poetry of violence. Like no, I don't have to fucking justify it to anybody. You don't have to like. You should never have to come up with these obtuse reasons why what you like is like. You have to like get it through subterfuge. It's like the same reasoning of like the Jewish guys who hire goyim to like work their light switch on Sabbath. You just get around the system.
Yeah, like my buddy was telling me that because his neighbors were observant, and they'd always like knock at his door and ask him if he could like do different things like that for him because they couldn't do it.
I love the system of like tricking God. Like, did you guys see that the representative from like Pennsylvania? He drank the cup of water that the Pope drank.
Oh yeah.
And you just what's going through his head is that like God like he sees him drinking the water and he's like, he drank the special water. I guess I have to bless him now. Like rules are rules.
I
wonder if he did.
Drank out of it, and he took it back to his office and had his staff members drink out of it too.
I'll bet
he's going to be president now.
I bet you 9 out of 10 of those people that took a drink out of that stupid cup walked around saying like, I've actually felt a lot more light today, like positive, like I have the Lord's love in my heart.
I like that way of like looking at religion like it's a Japanese RPG. Like, I gained the special water. I have +7 dexterity now.
Yeah, I like it. I do too. Like I've always said this before, there's a snake church in Columbus, but they're kind of choosy on who they let in. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
One of the churches where fucking they let the snake, they're like, hey snake, they grab a poisonous snake and they're like, go ahead and bite me, the Lord will protect me. And then they sing like hymns. And there's one of those here. And I admire those guys quite a bit. I think they're doing the Lord's thing to me.
They get killed I remember not that long ago a guy got killed by a snake.
It's probably weird to get bit by snakes, like to routinely have snake venom in you.
Well, you probably build a tolerance after a while. You
That's how they do it. The guys that do it a lot, they build up a tolerance from the venom.
Oh, see, that's bullshit though. That's like gaming the system. That's like, oh well, God was with me when I was practicing.
Well, they're just that. If you find out that they're building a tolerance to the venom, they're just using God as a way to keep us all from finding out that you get fucked up off of snake venom. Like that's why. It's like I'm fucking seeing visions, man.
What if we find out that's like better than DMT?
I'll bet you it is. I always think that. I always think that like, yeah, it's poison or venom or whatever, and like some of it. Well, like don't do it with a fucking king cobra. But if you know some people who've been bitten by a snake and lived, try to go get bit by that snake and see what it's like.
Oh god, in 10 years there's going to be like a snake farm that only Nick Lachey can sell snakes from.
I trust Nick Lachey to sell the snakes though.
Just think it's a really big deal that we should have these snakes.
Fucking, can you imagine the memes? Like we should. I'm so obsessed now with trying to get a conservative meme over. You know what I mean? So like, so that like the comical conservative shares a devastating meme that like I came up with, or the like I wish somebody I had Ted Cruz's head put on Gigi Allen, but I don't think that one's gonna take off.
Well, I mean, I could see the comical conservative is like really desperate to share anything. I think we could like get one under the radar there. If it was like if it was like you know like a cop doing a rap song,
Yeah.
he would share it.
Yeah, I'll share it. I mean, I will have to have somebody else share it on some of the pages so that like they don't, because they all know. Like one of these websites now posts things that are specifically against anarchist communists.
Yeah, they got you.
Yeah, I'm the one they're mad. There's like I'm the one they keep calling butthurt.
Which is great because all your comments are just like, I don't think that's right.
So sometimes I'll go into detail and tear apart every single part of their argument, and then you know what you get back from that? You're so stupid.
They love that one. Like, they like the really obtuse jokes. They're like, oh, I didn't know I was talking to somebody who lived in a different reality. And it's like, oh, good one. This is a really well constructed joke.
Go argue with a conservative online and see how long it takes you to get them to call you a Bernie Sanders baby and say Bernie Sanders doesn't know anything about economics, because they think Bernie Sanders has never like looked into the economics of socialism.
Right, they think that Bernie's just gonna like ask someone there. He's gonna stumble on one of these angry messages and read like the Road to Serfdom and be like, "Oh my God, I was wrong all along."
They think Bernie, yeah. I mean, they really think that like they think that Bernie's a communist. First of all, they found some pretty problematic things he wrote back in school about feminism, but.
They would have the prime minister that just got elected here. He's not like that left wing by any means, but his there's a picture of like Fidel Castro holding him as a baby.
Oh, how did that come up in the election?
Oh no, it didn't come up at all. And Fidel Castro, because his father was the prime minister too. It's like a George W. Bush situation, and Fidel Castro was a pallbearer at his father's funeral. So but he wasn't mentioned like at all during the election, which kind of shows how different things are up here.
Oh my God, that would be all that would be on TV right here. Like they would be saying that because you know how they got the name Jim Ayers in everybody's mouth. Like nobody knew who he was. Like very few people knew who he was until during Obama's campaign when they're like, this guy hangs out with Jim Ayers, Weather Underground.
Like you're supposed to be like it's like Bin Laden or something like that.
Yeah.
I loved it when they brought up Ayers because like I grew up. That was just like the neighborhood I grew up in Chicago. Where like all the remnants of all those people, and like if you like ran into those people, like knew people who knew them, like in my neighborhood, they were just like these like annoying losers who would write these like obtuse essays, like host poetry things that no one went to, and you would occasionally be like, you're doing imperialism every day, or to like just whoever. But like no one gave a shit. Like no one changed their life. They couldn't even affect anything in their neighborhood, and they were just people saw it, like even like lefty people in my neighborhood saw them as like sad former varsity athletes.
Yes,
so
they were.
For a way, it might have been like edifying for Bill Ayers when he got brought up that way as a super terrorist.
Yeah, that probably.
I told you guys.
I mean, when you start thinking about like how you would be seen by the government if you ever got to that level of like he hung out with, and you're like, man, they would say the same shit. They would, man. I make Bill Ayers look bad. Really, he bombed something though, so I have that over him.
Yeah, I mean, like they can like turn anything into like they could. I mean, if there was any candidate that was held by Fidel Castro as a child, that would be like the greatest gift to them. They would love that. They love stuff. They love like blood destiny stuff. Like when they make it like Barack Obama's dad like implanted anti-imperialism into his brain.
Yeah, I'm
Just
looking
like
up.
telepathically.
I'm looking to see what they're currently mad at. I mean, really lately, it's been a lot about like they really wish we were Russia.
Yeah, they want Putin. They alternatively like want like whatever Republican candidate to nuke Putin or to see Putin fuck their wife in front of them.
Yeah, he's a big, because I saw one today that said, and it was posted in a pro-America board. It really bothered me. It made me start to feel like patriotism's at an all-time low. But it was a man being like coming up out of the ice and the water, like a hunky dude coming up out of the ice of the water, and he's like, "This is how a Russian's born." I'm like, but it was in a pro-American group, and I was like, "Come on, guys, you're supposed to be the extreme for me, man."
I can't wait until like 2 years they all meet, like all the like tanky guys and the right wing guys. They're all just like Stalinists. Like, you know who was a real man? Leonid Brezhnev.
You know, Brooklyn Juggler trolls Facebook groups a lot too, and he made somebody so mad they called his work and started yelling at him.
They did what?
They called his work and started yelling at him.
Oh, that's
Oh my
awesome, man. I made
That's
somebody
great.
so mad one time that he threatened to beat me up in the comments and in private message. He sent me a private message.
The maddest I got a guy. I got like some like conservative intellectual on Twitter really mad, and he like went on such a rampage that Hugh Hewitt like had to be like, "Calm down, buddy. Don't feed the trolls, Glenn. Don't buy into it.
Yeah.
Do exactly what they want you to do, Glenn."
Yeah, I gotta say there's nobody really easy to I won't say his name, but Brooklyn Juggler made me think of it, that guy that we all like to make mad on Twitter.
Yeah. I
think I know who you're talking about.
He gets ultra mad. That guy is the maddest person in the world. Well, him and
James Woods. James Woods actually did sue somebody because he got so mad.
Yes, that's a top mad guy. Who else has been like really mad? Bung Dan blocked me.
Bung Dan had to address the controversy.
I never thought of the anal sex thing like once. I just was thinking like Beavis and Butthead, like bunghole, like, you know.
Yeah, it's a silly name. And he was like, "Oh, I guess people think it's hilarious that they're thinking of me engaging in anal sex."
I mean, that's funny too, though.
Meyer, motherfucker.
His picture is his picture. Like, I don't like to joke around and be like, "Oh, that's such a white thing," but he's like wearing the hat and everything. His name's Bung Dan. Like, if he can't figure out why Bung Dan is funny. Like, I think I tweeted this out too. I was like, when we say butt, like, it's up to your mind whether you take it to anal sex or poop. We might just be talking about how, like, Bung Dan because his politics are shit.
Yeah. I think Bung Dan is my favorite guy there because he's like the rarest thing I've ever seen a John Schindler fan.
Yeah.
he's like this guy is being railroaded. Oh, this guy has great opinions. People are trying to silence him. I have to protect Professor John Schindler.
You think he had a class with him? You think Bug Dan had a class with John Schindler?
I think it's even lamer than that. I think like probably Bung Dan wrote an article that was like, the women in the Afghanistan military who were like, ooh, feminist smackdown on the Taliban. And John Schindler probably shared it and was like, excellent. And it just like sort of blossomed when they probably talk about like whatever shit like 50-year-old white guys talk about when they're getting wild. Like they're wearing it seems like the shorts are getting higher and higher and lower. No complaints by me,
His big
like
thing,
the fucking horny way they talk.
he was actually like barred from editing Wikipedia pages because like Neil Kli or whatever on Twitter, who's who's really good at finding weird stuff like this, but pointed out that he used to obsessively edit articles on Wikipedia until like they banned him from doing it, and then he just like does it like anonymously, like editing or I don't know, after the Schindler thing, because somebody put the story about the dick pic or whatever in Schindler's Wikipedia entry, and he kept reverting it so many times that he was like banned.
Fucking Bung Dan is on the outs. Bung Dan's on the outs with Wikipedia. He's blocked me, so he's on the outs with me for sure. I didn't know his politics were so shitty at first. Like, I was making fun of his name purely for like the whole time for 2 or 3 days, and then somebody posted a link to one of his tweets where he was like defending that bombing of the hospital in Kunduz, Afghanistan.
Right, he was doing it in the most condescending way possible. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure we just bombed a hospital to be mean. Yeah, actually, things are more complicated than that."
Well, how else can that be taken? How else can having somebody come and fly over and bomb your hospital be taken? What are the other ways?
Okay, I'm gonna put on my Bung Dan straw hat and try to think like him. Okay, show the Taliban that we're willing to go as far as them. We're not going to do it all the time. We just have to do it once. So, like, just to get them thinking, for us to be unpredictable, I think. That's what I would say if I was Bung Dan.
That's probably Bung Dan's fucking plan.
Yeah, and those two, they all started off by saying that, oh no, it was obviously a mistake, you know, and then when it came out that, no, it wasn't a mistake, they thought there were Taliban in there, that's why they bombed the hospital. They're like, well, you know, the Taliban shouldn't have been in there.
Yes, there's always the bad guys shouldn't have been where they weren't supposed to be. It's like, we don't think that, we never take that, like, stance here, you know, if they were just like, if they were standing outside of a store and it had some Taliban in it, like there was 1 or 2 Taliban and 100 fucking civilians or whatever, they wouldn't just be like, blow it up and then go, hey man, it had 2 Taliban in it. It is a tragedy about everything else, but that had 2 Taliban in it. This fucking country would go insane if that happened here.
Although I come to think of it though, do you remember the in Philadelphia when the police dropped a fucking giant bomb on that house where like these there was like this weird cult type thing there, and they like killed like 15 people or something like that?
Yeah, it was the Move. They were called Move, and they did bomb a whole complex. Did they try to get people away though? Because that's what I'm saying. Like even here, before they condemn something, they give like people 50 days to get away from there before they knock it down. They don't just kind of knock it down.
Yeah.
Man, the election stuff, like I don't get to see anything anymore because I'm not at my job because I quit it. Like a crazy person. And so I don't even know what's going on, but I'm hearing that Donald Trump is doing lower poll numbers, which this is the end of him, huh?
I don't know. Well, it's like such a fucking long election season. We decided to like give the Mark Halperins of this world like extra income by like making it like a 2-year process. So, like, it doesn't even mean anything to me. It's like we're 2 months away from the first primary, and they're like, oh, well, this week he's at 27%, whereas last week he was at 29%. It's like, that doesn't fucking mean anything.
Nobody's really thinking about it.
Out about, like, the mid-season record of whatever team in baseball. It's like, yeah, you still have another, like, 8 years of this season.
That's true. That's true. Nothing they say means anything. I think that was another shot somebody took at Bernie Sanders, was that like Hillary was the only candidate that let Black Lives Matter move her opinion. And it was like, well, I mean, but like she's just saying that now. She's said some wild shit in the past.
Are we commending her for that, by the way? Like, we really think she, like, changed her mind? Like Hillary, who, like, had like her and Bill like they suspended the campaign so she could execute a retarded guy. It was like she saw one protest and was like, you know what? Actually, this has moved my heart. Like we're giving her credit for just having the worst fucking beliefs ever, and like giving them service like 2 months before the first primary.
How is it like a dude bro thing to be like, I don't want the government to execute anybody anymore? That's why I hate getting. That's the worst thing about it is like I probably am a dude bro. If we're gonna fucking really get down to it, I call people dudes, and I'm white and I'm male and I smoke pot and I'm all fucking amped up on whatever prescription drugs one of my friends gives to me.
Watch pro wrestling.
I'm watching pro wrestling right now. So, like, yeah, I probably am a bro, but you can't hit me. You can't be like, hey, when I say, hey, it would be really great if everybody just got universal health care, like if we had single-payer universal health care, and it seems like Bernie would be more into it than Hillary Clinton. People are like, fucking dude, bro.
I'm sorry. It's just everything becomes like an identity. That's like a legitimate belief of mine that it's like a human right that everyone should be able to go to the doctor, and people are like, there you go again. The real issue that people are focusing on right now are people being rude in online comment sections on Salon. I read one of those fucking articles, and the woman was like, for instance, the other day I saw people be very rude to featured Slate columnist Josh Voorhees. Like, people are going to die because they can't get surgery, or, like, I was going to vote for Bernie, but, like, the way that I saw his supporters treat Josh Voorhees, no one treats him like that. Is he okay now?
Is he going to make it? Is it going to be okay? Yeah, there is a lot. They do a lot of honorable internet warfare. Like, if that's the only... What's going to suck is if everything else gets vaporized except for that, so that they can know about our civilization through just that little subsection of news.
Oh, because it'll be people who, like, just live their entire life, like, with Salon counterpoint arguments.
Yes.
When you see stuff like the think piece stuff where they would start doing articles about man spreading, which I can see it's annoying or whatever, but then the New York the NYPD passed a law against man spreading, and you can get like a fine for it now, but surprise, like they just use it now to like hassle mostly like black and Latino like people on the subway, like and then they give them a ticket, then they pull up what warrants they have, and then they bring them in. So basically they just use this law that, I'm sure it was good-natured and intent, but then they're just using it to do the same bullshit they do like with every other law, which is like just to hassle and fine and lock up like, people of color or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure people like were accountable and like they felt they were apologetic. It turned out that way.
Yeah, it's always
just like fucking drop it and go on to the next thing that they yelled about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it isn't. I mean, isn't that something some signs could have taken care of though too? Just put some signs up and be like, "Hey, men, you ever notice how you spread your legs out too far? We don't like that." Then hang it into the subways, and it would have been taken care of.
Yeah, like they just like the police were like they arrested a murderer because they gave him a ticket for man spreading, then found out he was wanted for murder, and I forget who it was in some either one of Chatham or maybe it was on Facebook or somebody, but somebody commented like that they said, oh, the police did a great job, they followed up, and they literally just randomly hassled a guy, and it turned out he was a murderer. Like, they didn't really do anything at all. Like, it wasn't detective work.
In 2019, after they've instituted the policy that you get drone striked for like telling Arthur Chu that you're gonna like hit his dick with a hammer online, they're gonna accidentally take out like a fucking a Jabhat al-Nusra guy that we funded in Syria. They're gonna be like, see, like great work by the CIA Special Activities Division following up.
I can't believe so. Arthur Chu's the guy that's like he wants more strict regulation on what's bullying or abuse on Twitter, right?
Yeah, and he's He's qualified for this because he did good on a game show.
Yeah. See, here's what I think about that. Like, most people that are mean on Twitter, as long as you don't listen, if somebody's just telling you your balls look funny or something like that, then you can't be mad about that. I'm sorry. That's not something, I know that's not politically correct or whatever, but like, that's not what is a sue worthy thing? Like, what do you even sue? What do people do to Arthur Chu? What do people do that makes Arthur Chu feel so scared?
Yeah, and it's like you volunteer for the service, like by definition, like the reward of it is that you get to interact with like vast swaths of people that you wouldn't have otherwise, and the risk of it is that anyone at any time can be like, hey, I'm gonna stick your nose up my ass and take a shit.
Yeah.
Which is like not a big deal. Like that's not, you run that risk in fucking human interaction, and he just equates it like it's the biggest. Lots of people are just equating this like this is the next big struggle of our lifetime. Our generation defining thing is that no one will ever say anything rude to each other online unless they support universal healthcare, in which case that person is mentally ill and a loser and has no money and they're a dude bro, and they're homophobic and secretly gay.
Yeah. And yes. Yeah, man, it is like it's fun. The online arguments. I'm done with. Like arguing about, like, if you pick Hillary or Bernie or even fucking if you pick Trump, you have to fight out of all of the assumptions that people are already going to make about you. And like, I don't see why you would be picking a side this early anyway. Make them fucking work for it. That's the same thing I said about Star Wars. It's like, shit, man. Fucking they released all the new Star Wars stuff in the store and everybody's going out and buying it. It's like, shit, make them work for those toys. Buy the toys after you see the fucking movie.
I'm kind of sympathetic to all of it though. Like I'm sympathetic to like, I don't know, this might be kind of fucked up. I'm not sympathetic to like the older straight dudes who like really like Hillary because I think they just want to marry their moms. I'm sorry, that's just what I see. But like for women, like I don't know what it's fucking like to be a woman, but like I would imagine like it would feel good if like there was a woman president. Obviously that's not a thing for all women. But like I'm like fucking I understand that viewpoint, like why women would be excited, like some women would be excited about Hillary. Like I'm even sympathetic to like people who like Trump, like if you like have these shitty racist ideas and you feel like you've just been used by these guys for years, like these John Boehner or Tom DeLay guys for years, like yeah, you want this guy who's outside of the system. Like I can see all of it, but it's also I more agree with what you said. Like well, like why buy it already? Were you already fucking buying it? You don't get a reward for supporting it early.
Yeah, Trump fucking cracks me up, man. Actually, I thought the primary process was for them to like kind of play to the base and kind of figure out what the base wanted. But instead, it's like, I've said this on Street Fight before that I got emails from some of these progressive committees that are like, we're putting out a petition so that Hillary can run unopposed. We're going to suggest that nobody run against Hillary, and it's like this isn't how you negotiate. This isn't how it works. She makes the commercials, and you're supposed to judge her on that commercial, among other things.
I think like why does she deserve it? Why? Because she tried it one time and like got racist and fucked up and lost badly.
Yeah,
go fuck yourself. Like try again. Sorry, loser.
Yeah, she also just came out. She also just like came out in favor of the death penalty, which is like, no, not in 2015. The fucking Liberal Party doesn't get to do that.
And this fucking robot at the debate, she goes, I think there needs to be more research on medical marijuana. Like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
like, I'm supposed to just like give in to that. Like, go fuck you.
The death penalty thing too. She didn't even say she was for, or I don't know. But I remember she said something like it needs to be looked at, which is like it's the same thing with the medical marijuana. Like it's just all bull. Like she's not going to say anything like substantial about any controversial issue because it's been just like drilled down so much like that she she just like wants to coast through and get rid of the old the old crazy guy and like just coast.
Yeah, but she's gone. I mean, she has such a nasty past that it's really weird. Like that like some of the things she did still really are affecting us now, and she's had some amount of power ever since she was the first lady. She's had some kind of level of power where she could be like, shit, that crime bill was fucking terrible. Yeah, that was the wrong way to do things. Let's try to figure out a different way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that makes me the most angry with Hillary is Libya, like the NATO strikes on Libya. Just how that just gets glossed over. That we can for no fucking reason we did this and just ruin this country for absolutely no other reason than to appear strong. And she gets this label as like this is the real thinker on foreign policy. She's the pragmatist. Pragmatist just means like anyone who will do whatever they want, like whatever, just with no consideration to appear strong. That's not my definition of practical, but fucking whatever. But that just gets totally glossed over because the only people that want to investigate Libya are doing it from the standpoint that she watched like brave diplomats die while she was laughing.
Yeah.
It's from the worst fucking angle possible.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Those hearings. I'm glad it's over. Because now it seems like they kind of closed the book on Benghazi. A few of them still want her in prison, but you're always going to have them. They also want Obama in prison.
That's amazing, like how fucking stupid Tea Party guys are. Like there was this horrible thing where we were running guns to literally like Al Qaeda through this embassy and all this other fucked up shit going on. And they're like, we got it. We're gonna get our best guy, Mike Bingus, who got elected 2 years ago on the case, and he's going to ask her about emailing Sidney Blumenthal for 16 hours straight. Great fucking work.
A lot of Sam Knight because he watched watched that all fucking day without stopping and live tweeted it and wrote articles about it and stuff. I mean, I used to enjoy watching C-SPAN, but it's his he does it as a job, so that's props to him for that.
He should go there, man. That's the thing. I know that sometimes because Brett and I went over and hung out with him not too long ago, and we sat around some table and he had it on a computer turned down, but he was still, constantly paying attention to it. I'm like, that seems the most impossible fucking thing to do. I do like the call-in shows. The shows where people can call in, I really enjoy.
I used to call in a lot, and it was whenever I was 19, 20, and I would I'd drink all night, and then I would still be awake at 6 in the morning. This is when I had more drinking stamina, and it was right in the 2004 election campaign, and I would always just call in and. I got on maybe 3-4 times, and I'm sure whatever I was 20 years old, fucking drunk, so I'm sure whatever I said was very
oh my god.
I used to call into those shows a lot.
I wish if there was a god, we would be able to get the Dan audio call, because you probably sounded. Were you making jokes? Or were you on there trying to have real political conversation?
Yeah, no, I had serious opinions. I was pretty I wasn't very cynical back then. I'm sure I was drunk but very earnest about why Kerry was good or whatever.
Oh my god. That would be a masterpiece to listen to. I would I would love to hear those calls, man. I told Felix earlier that I was guest DJ once on this alternative radio station in town, and I played Pantera and Tool and a couple other things, but it's on cassette tape, and I don't know how to get that from the cassette tape onto the computer, but I want to post it someday. Because I probably sounded really fucking uncomfortable doing it. But I used to, here's what we used to do, okay? So did you ever watch, or you probably never watched them, but the telethons? Anytime you see a telethon on TV with phone banks,
Yeah, Jerry Lewis or whatever.
of the screen. Yeah, they would do it a lot. They would do them on Jerry Lewis, and they would also do them a lot on PBS. And then, there'd be various other emergency ones. And me and my friends used to sit in a room with the phone, and we would get the phone number. And whenever they would, like, pan across the people answering the phones, and if they would have them on the screen for a minute, they would answer the phone, and we would just scream as loud as we could into the phone and try to figure out the person on screen that answered it. And that was a game we used to play.
That's pretty ingenious.
I know. It's such a waste of fucking time though, but it was really fun at the time. You go sit on my friend's bed and harass telethon people.
So you could I assume you could tell by the reactions. Like, were you ever actually able to tell who it was?
Yeah, because you screamed really loud into the phone. You didn't like really do anything, so like, you couldn't start talking to them because then it would just look like a regular, you'd have to make sure when you hang up, they hang up. So you had to fucking just get a shock in there as quick as possible. So that's what we did. We screamed as loud as we could. Pick up the phone, you hear a bunch of people scream, and you're automatically going to hang up and probably have a weird look on your face like, damn, these fucking guys are screaming. So we could usually figure out who it was. It stinks because like that's kind of the equivalent, because you could fuck around with the news too over the phone. Like you could call the news and get on the phone, but then people would always be like, those guys that do it, God bless them too, still to this day, when they'd say Howard Stern's penis on the news.
They still manage to get in too, like after every big event.
Yeah, I should try to do that, man. I don't see why I never try to get on the news. When I worked at the restaurant, this guy that I worked with was walking a delivery down the street. The fucking news stopped him on his way back and asked him what he thought about Trump. And I was like, oh man, I would have given like 10 hot takes, man. I probably would have got a job at the news studio, really.
I only ever got whenever gas prices started to go up. I think I was like 19. I worked at like an appliance store, and they used some B-roll footage of me and like another guy loading a refrigerator into the back of the van, like while they interviewed. Like, I don't even think they interviewed. They just used B-roll, like they just used it as B-roll, so, like how gas prices were affecting like local businesses that had to use like driving.
I'd love to hear you yelling about like, these gas prices, they're killing these local businesses. I gotta get on the news somehow. I just get on the local news. I feel like that's such an achievable thing, Like, Felix, you're heading in the right direction writing something, because at some point maybe they'll want you to come and be a comedian head in a box somewhere,
Yeah, I want to be on one of those like VH1 shows called This Year in Fails.
Yes.
I'll show up like after like a video of like a guy like the food like falling out of a tree and be like, I thought the pizza rat was bad. They'll finally have health insurance, so like I'm good with it.
Yeah, I would fucking love that. Like when I used to see the Best Week Ever, where it's like, and this week everybody was into pizza, and then they hand you a piece of pizza, and you're like, that's good pizza. It's funny pizza or something. You probably get like $80 to do that. And so that I love the '80s thing. I think I basically everybody's dream job is I love the '80s, according to even when you look at Facebook and stuff, people are always sharing stuff from the '80s. Like, we all just want a job commenting on stuff from a different decade.
There's a market for it. Like if there's anything we have a lot of, it's decades.
Yeah, I really like I really like those video hell things where I can like or I can't even fucking remember TV Nightmare.
Oh, where it's Menaker posts?
The what?
The Vines Menaker posts of like the old TV shit.
Yeah, I love that shit. I like old video and stuff. I wish I had a VCR, but I guess you could probably go buy one pretty cheap now.
One of the better things I seen in that thing was somebody put like there was an upstate New York or something. They were like in like 1991 that there was some bar or club or whatever that had like a club night, and they would broadcast it on like public access TV. So it was just like a video of like people like in like early 90s like fashions, like like hanging out. It was so weird.
I'd watch that.
Yeah,
I would probably watch that.
I'll try to find it. I've watched it like so many times. It's so weird to see.
Yeah, I like seeing people. One of my favorite things is like there was a video of a party that got busted by their parents online recently, and like I hated the part where the parents came, but I loved when I was just like, shit, that's what I did at parties. And it was so funny because I picture the parties I went to in school as being these wild affairs, but they really were like 7 to 12 people there, 4 people sitting on one couch, 4 people in the kitchen doing shots, 5 people standing outside smoking cigarettes, and that's all that was really happening.
Oh, I got some important news coming across the wire here. Fred Durst is interested in getting Russian citizenship.
Good. That's the coolest thing he's done in a few years. He's got to get people talking.
Yeah. He says he feels something special for Russia and is thinking of making a movie about the country.
Well, that's weird because Jonathan Davis of Korn has always been a supporter of South Ossetia.
What is Jonathan Davis? Probably is pretty pissed about this, you'd think. They might be at war because Jonathan Davis is a super, like, he's conservative, right? He's an ultra Ron Paul type.
I didn't know. I know, like with the one guy like adopted like a bunch of foreign kids, and he's like some weird Christian now.
That's Brian Head Welch.
Yeah.
I listened to his testimony once. It was very interesting. It involved the song Head Like a Hole. He was like, one time I was driving in a car with somebody, and the song by Nine Inch Nails came on, Head Like a Hole. And he said in the song, bow down to the one you serve. And he was like, I just heard that. And I was like, oh man, I'm supposed to serve Jesus. And that was like one of his big moments.
It's been a while with Stained is about a backslider who comes back into the fold.
Oh, wow. That's great. But I like that song.
It's a great song. People don't realize that Aaron Stained, like, he actually has a beautiful voice. And I like that dumb shit song Country Boy, where he's like, I don't need government to hold my hand. He says, like, the devil made him start Stained. Like, I still love that song because he has such a good voice. I like listening to his music. I don't care.
Well, yeah.
I saw Stained before in college. I was Stained and Godsmack.
I saw Stained with Kid Rock. I saw Kid Rock a lot of fucking times, though, man. Like, Kid Rock was usually the main attraction for me.
I've never saw Kid. I've seen a lot of those type of bands, like, but I never saw Kid Rock.
Oh man, you got to see him. He'll be in New York. Actually, he probably hates New York, doesn't he? Felix?
I mean, like, I enjoy myself here. I don't see any reason why Kid Rock couldn't. And also, like, I've just made it above the poverty line. With Kid Rock money, you can just like have a great time here. It would be like
true.
back home. Some other things. I would happily take Kid Rock on a tour. I would take Kid Rock to it was Hibachi Grill Place, anywhere. I'd take him to the High Line, the floating garden above the city, similar to Babylon. I think he'd love it. Kid Rock, please come here.
We got to get you with fucking other guy first, with Kurt Sutter first.
Kurt Sutter didn't read any of my reviews for The Observer, nor did he talk about our podcast. But I think Kurt Sutter is one of those guys where, like, if he can catch wind of me making fun of him, and like really yell at me, but then like he'll be like, "Meet me face to face, pussy," and then I will. But then he'll like me, and then we'll be friends, and he's like that type of guy where he's like, I'm such a crazy son of a bitch that I hated all my friends at first.
That sounds like something he would say, for sure.
So that's how I'm going to do it.
That's smart. Like, don't just lean into him. Okay, here it is. I got it for you guys. This is from February 19th, 2014. Jonathan Davis is a political activist now. And one of the things he's really bothered with is the NSA. So maybe he's a Greenwaldian.
Oh, I think I remember this. I remember hearing this now. Yeah, he's like a libertarian.
He was on Alex Jones. For a long time, I've been into. So here's what he explained to Alex Jones. For a long time, I've been into what's going on with our country. I don't necessarily consider myself a political person, but over the years, I've seen what's been going on, and it's time to do something about what's going on with our country and the system and everything that's going on. So you guys think that the next words are going to be pretty smart? He says, it seems really sad that everybody's so asleep and oblivious to the fact that the country uses the media to capture people's attention or take away from the fact of what's going on with our country. They always say that, like, it's the media. It's every time they're like, the media fucking has all of you brainwashed.
Yeah, it's weird. like they that happened again. Like with the Republican candidates who were mad at the last debate because CNBC asked like questions that were like, like too, I don't know, like not softball enough, and they're immediately like they get support by saying how bad the media is and stuff like that, even though like they're just mad that like they weren't getting like the the coverage they would have liked, or they were even like, but they were just. Any little thing they complain about the media, and then their supporters get mad at the media instead of like I don't know.
That's true.
It's this weird thing too, where like the horse race guys like Mark Halperin or like Ron Fournier have this like self-hating thing, where like all those guys like they sort of like Jim Webb, or they did before this election cycle, and Jim Webb would always talk about how much he hated the media. And, like, the subtext Jim Webb, because he's killed many men, was always like, pussies, you're nothing, I would wipe you from my boot, you media scum. And they were like, thank you, sir, you were so right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Okay. So, here's our next. So, here's some specifics of what radicalized Jonathan Davis, guys. It really freaked me out when the whole Miley Cyrus thing was going on. And when that went down, Barack passed that new law that he can imprison anyone he wants, and he doesn't have to go charge them and keep them as long as they want.
And Miley Cyrus was like, yeah, I can see that. She was like the distraction.
During the whole Miley Cyrus thing.
I like this for multiple reasons. I like the idea that like all the senators who are going to look at the bill, like they're just like they're like about to read the bill, then like a TV comes on with like Miley Cyrus like naked, and their monocles fall in their champagne glasses, and they're like, oh no, I can't read the bill. Yes, I vote yes on it, whatever it is.
Yeah. I also like the idea that like every single person on the planet is focused on Miley Cyrus at that particular, like they think, like Jonathan Davis thinks because he watched the Wrecking Ball video that morning, everybody watched it.
I like it's very Metal Gear Solid too. My favorite games. Like Miley Cyrus is like this government project. Like she was raised in government schools, and they're like, you are going to get naked exactly when you get the signal. You're going to make this outrageous album.
You're going to be pansexual. Like that's the thing that drives like a lot of those conservative websites off, is that they don't know what slur to call her when it comes to what her sexuality is, because she's just like, I don't know, man, I just whatever, which is that's perfect, you know.
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
That's actually, the funny thing is, that's what conservatives always say. Well, if they didn't run around and tell us, and then now they're actively going like, well, who do you like to fuck, okay?
Yeah, you're right. I have noticed, like, they do have a weird fixation on Miley Cyrus for some reason.
Well, it's always Miley Cyrus or the Kardashians
Well,
are
it's always
distracting us.
weird, like self-serious liberals and conservatives are the exact same in this way that they think that like there's this like like there would be the political capital for this mass movement of like whatever either side want. Like we could either like get it together to kick every Mexican out of the country, or we could fucking throw every head of every bank in prison. If just people would stop watching reality TV, that's the only thing in the way.
Yes.
That's so true. You do hear it from both sides. I remember there was this time that one guy who's like he's like Alex Jones's sidekick or something like that. He started getting, for some reason, it was during WrestleMania, and this guy, I forget, he's like Prison Planet on Twitter or something like that.
Okay.
And he WrestleMania was going on, and he just starts like flipping out about WrestleMania for some reason. He's like, you know what the government's doing while you're watching these oiled up guys like pretend to fight each other, like, and he got really mad about wrestling for some reason, and people were making fun of him obviously because it was ridiculous, like, but I don't know, it was that type of thing. It just totally like just WrestleMania just made the guy snap.
Yeah, if WrestleMania wasn't on, we wouldn't have the NDAA.
Yeah, it was. He might have even mentioned the NDAA, I think.
They always do. That's their main go-to. But yeah, they do that. They do that sports ball. Liberals like to call it sports ball. Oh, is the sports ball on?
I like this sports thing too because that's the equivalent to like the conservative guys who like think that they're rotting our brains with MTV. It's the fucking liberal guys who are like, football is the same thing as imperialism. It's a plantation. I saw a guy say it's a plantation. I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's like the fucking opposite of that. Like, A, they're getting paid. B, they can leave when they want.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people like, I've seen people get mad about MMA and wrestling have that in common. Though, Felix, is that like it's always like when a couple of men grab onto each other for a whole bunch
I love that
of time.
just everyone who like will like change their profile picture to like a fucking rainbow after the Supreme Court ruling. Anytime that wrestling or MMA is within 50 feet of them, they're like, I'm not gay.
Yeah.
I don't like this because I'm not gay.
What if his balls came out in there and they just started fucking right in the middle of the wrestling ring?
It's also the guy whenever like the women fight, they're like, oh yeah, I'd like to be in an armbar with her. like they're so that removed from like any type of sexuality that they just like see women punching each other and they're like, oh, this must be what porn is.
You're so exactly right. Yeah, people that complain about wrestling and fighting, like as being like these unsophisticated things, are my absolute favorite because like. Especially with pro wrestling, man, people fucking come to you and tell you that it's fake every time. They'll be like, you know that's fake, right? You're like, yeah. Do you think I think that I think that all of this is real? Do you think anybody in the world at this point thinks that any of this is real? So you telling me it's fake? Seems like you're grappling with it a little bit. And it really is usually when somebody says it's fake, they just want to know, which is the sickest fucking thing. They're like, so which parts of it really hurt?
Right. Like, I don't even understand, like, I don't understand, like, that level of involvement with people, like, what people like. Like, I went to, like, you guys know Tim Faust, right?
Oh, yeah, I know that guy from Twitter, yeah, Krolled or whatever.
Yeah, Kroll, like he moved away from here, but like he had this pro wrestling thing in his house, and like I never really watched it, but like from like listening to Street Fight, like you guys talk about pro wrestling all the time, I was interested in seeing it. And, like I watched a live event for the first time, you know, in a while, like probably like 10 years or more, and I was like, oh, that's like kind of exciting. Like I get it. Like it wasn't this whole thing. Like people take this fucking scientific process with anything that people enjoy, where they're like, what is the aspect that's similar to the thing that I like? You can't just fucking like something anymore. It either has to be a political statement, or you have to fucking break it down into the most scientific, unenjoyable way possible. It's like this pickup artist. It's the same thing with like being a pickup artist. They found a way to turn sex into a fucking science equation.
Yeah, yeah, and like that you can't. You can't just allow people to enjoy. So I always get very weirded out by somebody who could be somewhere where wrestling's on and just be like, oh, I'm just going to get up and leave and not try to understand why the other people in the room are interested in watching it, you know?
That's like a protest. It's not like you're a Catholic in Northern Ireland and somebody like started doing a Protestant service. I will not stand by while they read the Primo Levi quote about allowing monsters to exist.
Yeah. And it's really that's the thing is like you cannot pay attention to sports. Like sports isn't distracting me as much as you think it is. You know what's really distracting me? Work. Like the work stuff that I have to do is the big distraction of my day. I actually get a lot of joy out of the sports.
Yeah, they're fun. Like everything else that people want to fucking talk about all the time. Like everyone always wants to talk about like fucking bullshit. They want to talk about like property taxes and stuff. I don't want to talk about that.
No.
I want to talk about like these fucking amazing guys who do steroids and are fucked up in the head and like hurt each other, dude. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, or football. I mean, crazy people in fucking football or baseball. I saw tons of people loving baseball. Would never make fun of baseball, but could never. I don't watch it. I don't even understand what's happening.
I like lightheartedly make fun. I know, like I don't like football. I think it's boring. I know, but I understand that like a lot of people like it. I don't take it as like people think it's like an affront to them when people like something they don't like. It means that they won't like them. Like they get that fucking insecure.
And it sucks to be a person that takes pride in hating everything and being like, you know what, motherfucker? I'll tell you something I like, and then I'll badmouth it 2 words later.
We were talking about that today with the movie Fight Club. Like the movie Fight Club and its politics are fucking stupid, but it's like it's a fun to watch movie. Like it's well directed. There's fun acting. Like it's fun to watch. There's like cool fights, but like people. For like 10 years now, I feel like I've seen people like posture to me about how much they hate that movie because they're so fucked up. They're just so fucked up by the internet that they can't just fucking enjoy something for what it is anymore. And to the point where like the stupid shit they enjoy, like if you enjoy Drake, it's not just that you like his music or whatever. It's that it's this like fucking political statement about masculinity. Like shut the fuck up, just like something, like or don't like something. It is not everything is attached to you as a person or you as a political entity. No one even fucking notices.
Yeah, that's also true. Is like when people talk about the political implications of a lot of the TV that people watch, or even the political implications of like I said, people watching wrestling or people watching football. It's like most people aren't watching them for political reasons. Like I'm sorry, dude. That part of my mind can be turned off sometimes.
Yeah.
I live in a world.
Whenever I think of like, I mean, if I'm watching football, I know in my head that they rip off like cities to build taxpayer funded stadiums or like there's problems with concussions and things like that. But I just had a long day of fucking sending emails and bullshit like that. And I just want to watch a guy like run out and catch like a fucking awesome deep pass and see my little like fantasy football like scores like rise up.
Yeah. Well, I always think about the people doing the thing too. Like when you talk about like we did that show with Bro Pair actually about wrestling, and we talked a lot about I had said that I have some guilt for the way that guys like Mick Foley come out. I'm like, damn, that sucks that he came out that way, but like these guys made choices, and I don't think they would have made very many different choices if they had it all to do over again,
I mean, like obviously I support like a union for all the players. Like in MMA, I think for people I know that are also follow MMA, I think the Reebok sponsorship deal is fucking bullshit. I think there should be a fighters union. All of this, but like just just the idea that I'm going to affect that by like posting like, see the guys are hugging each other again, like on Twitter, like by saying that like that's any more political. Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, like and you do look into it's like I think that there should be a pro wrestlers union, at least in WWE. I don't know if I don't know how what kind of a union you could make in the indies, and since MMA has indies too, right?
Has what?
Does MMA have? Is there like an indie circuit in MMA? Like in wrestling, there's a circuit of promoters across the United States that you can go to and do shows to make extra money until you can get into one of the ones that'll pay you a guarantee.
Oh yeah, no, there are tons of indie circuits. I mean, there used to be more.
Yeah,
but like they all are named like Wild Bills, like parking lot fights.
Well, there's a guy on one of the dads that's of one of the kids on my daughter's soccer team. He told me one time that they used to go see a lot of pro wrestling in Cincinnati, and he was like, and then we used to drive down here to Columbus to watch Tough Man contests, and I was like, that was UFC. But they called it Tough Man contest. It was just fucking bunch of Lonnies got together and beat each other up.
Oh, it was the Lonnie Championship. It was like Phil Baroni is like the greatest Lonnie ever in MMA. He was this like guy from New York who was a bodybuilder, and like he would always be like, "I'm willing to die in that tonight." Just like always like lose because he got really tired and submitted.
I love this guy already. I'm willing to die, and then he actually does. He gets fucking knocked out.
I love the I'm willing to die guys.
I do too. That's the Undertaker's character in wrestling now. Him and Sting, right, Dan? Like every time you see Sting and the Undertaker now, it's like this motherfucker is basically just telling me he's willing to die.
Yeah, these guys are like almost 50 years old. Like it's crazy. Like how do they even like still like move?
I know. So Felix, in Sting's last match, he got what was called a buckle bomb, where he got picked up on the dude's shoulder, so his nuts are basically in his face, and then slammed onto the turnbuckle of the thing, and his neck snapped back, right, just a little bit, and then he was like, okay, I'm gonna run the ropes, and he bent over and he fell down. Before he could run the ropes, and I was like, I think that old man just died in the wrestling ring.
Oh no! Was there like a fucking silence in the arena?
Well, a doctor came in, and in WWE, you put an X up for your hands to mean like this is fucking serious. This isn't some because a lot of times they'll bring a doctor in to bullshit you. You know what I mean? To be like, this is getting crazy. They're bringing in the doctors. But this time he was in there for real. And it was just like, these guys are so old that Sting doesn't need money. He's doing just fine. Sting made plenty of money. But somebody needs to tell him time to stop now, buddy. Like they would not let Sting play in the NFL. A guy Sting's age play in the NFL.
There's so many guys like that in fighting. Like Dan Henderson, who is 43. And he's like this fucking legendary guy. Like there was a story that he was an international competitor in Greco-Roman wrestling, like Olympic shit, and he didn't train for like 2 years. And he told his buddy Randy Couture, who was also a guy like this, who was an Olympic alternate, like, well, I think I'm gonna go do the World Championships, which were in 2 weeks. And he was like, Dan, you haven't been training in years. I don't remember the last time you saw him train. And he's like, oh, I'll remember it. And he just goes in there and places like third in the world. And he's like fucking awesome. He used to be like impossible to knock out, and he knocked out everybody, even though he like always looked like he was moving in molasses. But like he's been like getting knocked out for the first time. But like he has enough money. He's just doing this because like he's that fucking type of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the fucking thing is like when you see the guys that do have money that aren't necessarily desperate, but there's a thing in pro wrestling, I think, where you're so desperate for the spotlight. That's the fucking thing.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's like, it's not hard to talk somebody into going in there and being, loved and guaranteed to win at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, those have been pretty creepy. Those Undertaker hardcore matches they've been doing lately. He's like 51, but so I guess before we go, I'll tell you guys just real quick. There was a recent wrestling match between Jerry the King Lawler and Terry Funk, and Terry Funk is 71 years old.
Oh no!
And Jerry the King Lawler recently had a heart attack during Raw. And they brawled all over the place, and apparently also Jerry Lawler blew a fireball in Terry Funk's fucking face.
Oh no!
They're old, but let me ask you guys this, just as a little conundrum before we finish the show here. Is it they want to do it, Those two guys want to do it.
Yeah, this is where I sound like Ron Paul about these things. Like, I don't want to start. If they want to fucking do it, like, go for it. Like, you get so much time on this earth, and I'm not here to tell you how you're going to live it. Well, I want you to maximize your life just for, like, how I see you should live it. Like, if you love doing it, if you love being in the spotlight and, like, performing like that, like, fucking go for it. It's not my business.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah. If you don't want to... Listen, I'm 71 and I'm fucking okay with falling down a flight of stairs and having somebody blow a fucking fireball in my face. They let George Bush skydive every year on his fucking birthday. Same exact thing. All right, so Felix, tell them where you're writing.
All right, me and Virgil, Texas. We were writing at a cafe under the name Carl Diggler. He's a veteran reporter with 30 years in the game of national reporting. You might see old standby Professor Jeff show up soon. But yeah, check it out.
War Room Jeff, I'm excited to see again.
It's a big debut.
Yeah, or Jeff Newsroom, I'm sorry.
Jeff
Newsroom. Yeah, I love his name. And Dan is Dank Metal, DANKMTL.
Yep. You can see me on Twitter, or you can maybe go in my office and harass me while I'm writing emails.
What do? You got an emails job? I'm not. You don't have to get specific or anything.
I have an emails job.
Is it good? I mean,
it goes fast, and I can buy cigarettes and stuff, so it's all right.
This is as good as my last job. Do you have an insane?
I've worked in restaurants before, and I did not like it at all, so I think I prefer it to that.
All right, guys. I will talk to you I'll be talking to Felix in a couple of weeks here. We're gonna do.
That's right.
We're gonna do with Will